Can you really build something from almost nothing? You've heard the saying, it takes money to make money, right? Well, I've always wondered if that was totally true. So, I'm starting with just this single $10 bill on a mission to test those money hacks you see all over the internet. Now, this isn't about get-rich-quick schemes. This is the story of how I tried 5 lesser-known methods to 5x my money. A challenge to turn this $10 into 50. I'm documenting everything, the wins, the fails, and all the lessons learned along the way, to find out if you can actually multiply your money with just a little bit of starter cash. Let's see if this works. The setup. I set a couple of simple rules for myself. I start with $10, and I can only use the profits from one step to fund the next one. The goal is to hit $50. I picked 5 methods that don't require a ton of cash or some fancy degree to get started. These are all things that, in theory, just about anyone can do. But the big question is, do they actually work? Let's find out. Section 1, Method number 1, the micro-task hustle. Alright, for our first method, I wanted to prove a point. You don't always need money to make money. So, I decided to keep my initial $10 bill safely tucked away. We're starting this challenge from absolute zero. No investment, no special equipment, just leveraging a skill that many of us already have in some form. This led me straight to the world of online freelance microtasks. So what exactly are microtasks? They're exactly what they sound like. Small, manageable jobs that companies and individuals outsource to a global workforce. We're talking about anything from transcribing a short audio clip to tagging images for an AI algorithm, writing a 100-word product description, or doing simple data entry into a spreadsheet. The beauty of it is the sheer variety. Platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, and Amazon's Mechanical Turk are gigantic marketplaces for these gigs. It's a bustling digital economy where if you have a skill and a bit of patience, you can find someone willing to pay for it. The barrier to entry is incredibly low, which made it the perfect zero-risk arena to begin this entire challenge. I've always been reasonably comfortable with basic design software. Nothing professional, mind you, but I can put together a decent-looking graphic. So, I chose Fiverr as my platform and decided to offer a gig, creating simple, clean social media graphics for small businesses. The first step was building my shopfront, the profile. This is more important than you might think. I spent a good hour just crafting my bio, trying to sound professional but approachable. I chose a clear, friendly profile picture. Then came the gig itself. I created a package titled, "I will design 5 modern minimalist social media posts." I made a few sample images to create a portfolio showcasing the style I was offering. I set my price at a rock-bottom $25 for 5 images, strategically undercutting some of the competition, hoping a low price would attract that crucial first buyer. And then, I waited. I hit publish on my gig and expected, well, I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't the sound of digital silence. The first day passed. Nothing. The second day, I found myself obsessively refreshing the page, checking my stats, my impressions, my clicks, all zeros. The competition was absolutely staggering. I saw designers with thousands of 5-star reviews offering more for less. The self-doubt started creeping in. Was my work not good enough? Was my price too high, too low? It was genuinely discouraging. On day 3, I seriously considered pulling the plug on this whole method. It felt like shouting into a void. But I told myself to give it one more day. And then, just as I was about to log off, a little notification popped up. A message. My heart actually skipped a beat. It was a new coffee shop just starting out, and they needed 5 simple promo images for their Instagram launch. The hustle was on. The gig was for $25, which breaks down to just $5 per image. It was hardly a path to riches, but it was a paying client, and that's all that mattered. This was my chance to get a foothold, to earn that first positive review. The client sent over their logo, a few photos of their shop, and a general vibe they were going for. cozy and modern. I fired up my design software and got to work. I probably spent a solid 3 hours on the initial drafts, making sure everything was perfectly aligned and the colors matched their branding. I sent them over, feeling pretty proud. Of course, freelance work is never that simple. The client came back with some feedback. Can we try a different font? Could this blue be a little warmer? This back and forth is a normal part of the process, but it adds time. We went through 2 rounds of revisions, which added another hour to my work time. All in all, it was about 4 hours of work for a $25 gig. That's a little over $6 an hour before taxes. But I wasn't complaining. I was laser focused on one thing: getting that 5-star review. Finally, they approved the designs. I hit the deliver button, and a few moments later, the status changed to complete. The $25 landed in my Fiverr account. Now, the platform isn't a charity. They take a 20% cut of all earnings, which is their fee for providing the marketplace. So, after their $5 cut, my final take-home profit was $20. $20. It might not sound like a lot, but honestly, it felt like $1 million. It was tangible proof. I had started with nothing but an idea and a basic skill, and through sheer persistence, I had turned it into actual spendable cash. It was a massive win and a huge confidence boost. So, let's recap Method 1. The micro-task hustle taught me a few key lessons. First, patience is everything. Your first client is the hardest to get. Second, a professional-looking profile matters, even if you're a complete beginner. And third, over-delivering on your first few jobs is critical for building that all-important social proof in the form of good reviews. It's a grind, for sure, but it absolutely works as a foundational first step. And just like that, my initial bankroll of $0 had turned into $20. I was officially profitable. When we add that to the original $10 I started with, our total war chest is now at $30. It's not a fortune, but it's a start. And more importantly, it's capital we can now put to work in a slightly more ambitious way. We've proven we can make money from nothing. Now, it's time to see if we can make our money make money. And that brings us directly to method number 2. Section 2, method number 2, the digital product engine. All right, with a fresh $20 in the bank from our first hustle, it was time to shift gears. Method 1 was all about trading time directly for money. For method 2, I wanted to try something more strategic, something with long-term potential. It was time to build an asset. Welcome to the digital product engine. The core concept is pure magic in the modern economy. You build something once, and it can sell over and over again, creating a potential stream of passive income. Unlike a physical t-shirt or a coffee mug, there's no inventory to store, no materials to buy, and no packages to ship. You create a file, and you can sell 1 million copies of it as easily as you can sell one. This could be anything from a detailed ebook sharing your expertise to a pack of Lightroom presets that give photos a professional sheen, or even a set of social media templates for a small business. The barrier to entry is incredibly low. All you really need is a good idea and a computer. I decided to invest $5 of my initial earnings into this venture. Now, I could have tried to do this for free, and you absolutely can. But I wanted to give my product a competitive edge. My big idea? A comprehensive set of customizable budget templates specifically for students. Before committing, I did some reconnaissance. I went straight to Etsy and typed in student budget. The results were interesting. There were plenty of products, which was a good sign. It meant a market existed. But I also saw a gap. Many were overly complex, visually dated, or just plain boring. I knew I could create something more intuitive and aesthetically pleasing. My personal experience fueled this idea. I vividly remember the stress of juggling tuition, rent, and a diet consisting mostly of instant noodles. I made so many financial mistakes in college simply because I didn't have the right tools. I wanted to create the exact resource I wish I'd had back then. That $5 investment went towards a premium font and a small pack of graphic elements. It's a small detail, but it's what separates an amateur-looking product from a professional one that people are willing to pay for. It's all about perceived value. With my assets in hand, I dedicated a full weekend to creation. Saturday was all about structure. I mapped out every section: income trackers, fixed versus variable expenses, savings goals, debt repayment planners. My first draft was a functional but hideous spreadsheet that only an accountant could love. It was overwhelming. So I spent the rest of the day simplifying, asking myself with every element, does a stressed-out student need this, or is it just adding clutter? Sunday was all about presentation. I finalized the design, applying my new font and graphics to make it clean, modern, and inviting. Then came the most crucial step: the marketing assets. People buy with their eyes, especially online. I didn't just post screenshots of the spreadsheet. I used mock-up templates to show my budget planner being used on a laptop in a coffee shop or on a tablet sitting on a study desk. This helps potential customers visualize themselves using the product and benefiting from it. It transforms a simple file into a tangible solution. Finally, I launched my Etsy shop. Setting it up is free, but crafting the listing is an art form. I spent hours on the copy. Instead of a bland title like Budget Template, I went with The Ultimate Student Budget Planner. Finally, take control of your finances. The description focused less on the features, the what, and more on the benefits, the why. I talked about reducing financial anxiety, saving time, and building healthy money habits that would last a lifetime. I also did some basic SEO, filling the tags with keywords I thought students would search for, like college budget, student finance, and debt-free journey. With the listing live, my little digital engine was officially open for business. And then, I waited. And I'll be honest, the silence was deafening. For days, nothing happened. I kept refreshing my stats page, a knot of self-doubt tightening in my stomach. Did I misread the market? Was my price too high at $8? Was the design not as good as I thought? This is the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship. Then, on a random Tuesday afternoon, while I was doing something completely different, my phone made a sound I'd never heard before. It was the Etsy seller app. My first sale. It was only $8, but in that moment, it felt like $1 million. It was validation. A complete stranger, somewhere out there, saw value in what I had created from scratch and paid for it. That first sale broke the dam, but it wasn't exactly a flood. It wasn't the explosion of passive income I'd been dreaming of. A few more sales trickled in over the next few weeks. I didn't just sit back and wait, though. I created a few pins for Pinterest using my mock-ups and posted a link in a relevant student forum, which seemed to drive a little traffic. After about a month, I'd made a handful of sales. My total revenue was about $24. After Etsy's listing and transaction fees, I was left with around $20. Subtracting my initial $5 investment, I ended this phase with a $15 profit. The biggest lesson here wasn't about the money I made. It was the proof of concept. I had successfully built a tiny machine that could, in theory, keep working for me while I slept. That idea was awesome. That brought my grand total to $35. With a small but mighty digital asset now running in the background, I was feeling energized. On to the next experiment. Section 3, method number 3, the survey grind. Okay, sitting at $35 now. Next up is a method I was, not gonna lie, super skeptical about: online surveys. You've seen the ads for sites like Swagbucks and Survey Junkie that promise easy cash for your opinions. I decided to commit my downtime to this, on my commute, while watching TV, any spare moment I had. I signed up for 3 different sites to get as many surveys as possible. And let me be real with you, this was a grind. You get disqualified from so many surveys halfway through, it is maddening. But I gamified it. How much could I actually make? For a couple of weeks, I just consistently answered questions about my grocery habits, my thoughts on movie trailers, you name it. It was mind-numbing at times, but I stuck with it. At the end of 2 weeks, I had finally racked up enough points to cash out. My grand total from the survey grind? A whopping $7. Yeah, it's definitely not a fast track to wealth, and I wouldn't quit your day job for it. But it proved you can make money this way. And for this challenge, every dollar counted. This brought my total up to $42. We're getting closer. Section 4. Method number 4. The Handmade Marketplace. After exploring the digital and service worlds, I felt a pull towards creating something tangible, something I could hold, smell, and be proud of. The handmade economy is booming, built on the idea that people crave unique personal items with a story. This felt like the perfect antidote to the more abstract methods I'd tried so far. For method number 4, I wanted to do something I could actually touch and feel, selling handmade products. This market is massive, with everything from intricate jewelry to custom home decor. I've always had a bit of a creative streak, so I thought this would be a fun one. My mind raced with possibilities. Could I design and sell art prints? Maybe try making beaded jewelry? But many of those required skills or tools I didn't have. I needed something with a low barrier to entry but a high perceived value. That's when I landed on candles. They hit a sweet spot, universally loved, relatively inexpensive to start, and infinitely customizable with scents and branding. A quick search on local forums and Facebook groups showed a real appetite for locally made home goods, especially gifts. This felt like a gap I could fill. With my remaining $42, I knew I had to be strategic. I decided to allocate just $12 for materials, keeping a healthy reserve. This constraint forced me to be incredibly resourceful. My idea was to make personalized hand-poured soy candles. Scented candles are always popular, and I figured a handmade local touch could really help them sell. I found a small starter kit online which was a lifesaver. It came with just enough soy wax for a small batch, a handful of wicks, and 2 small bottles of essential oils, a calming lavender and a warm sandalwood. The jars were my own addition. I found a pack of simple, elegant glass tumblers at a discount store that looked far more expensive than they were. All in, my supplies cost exactly $12. Honestly, the process was a ton of fun, turning my kitchen into a makeshift laboratory. I carefully melted the soy wax flakes, learning that temperature control is crucial for a smooth finish. Then came the art of scent blending. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. My first attempt was a minor disaster. The wick drifted stubbornly to one side as the wax cooled and the top cracked. It was a learning curve, but a valuable one. I realized I needed to secure the wicks more firmly and let the wax cool more slowly. For the branding, I wanted something clean and minimalist that would let the candle speak for itself. I designed a simple label with a modern font, printed it on sticker paper, and applied it to each jar. Photography was the next hurdle. I set up a small, well-lit area near a window, using a white poster board as a backdrop to make the candles look professional and appealing. After a few tries, I ended up with a beautiful batch of 10 candles, with my total cost being just $1.20 each. I took my best photos and crafted a listing for a local online marketplace and my personal social media, setting the price at $10 a pop. The response was way faster and more enthusiastic than I ever expected. The first ding of a sale notification from my phone was genuinely thrilling. My listing on Facebook Marketplace wasn't just a picture and a price. I wrote a story, highlighting that they were hand-poured in small batches right here in our community, using natural soy wax and essential oils. People in my community were really into the idea of buying a local, handmade gift. The buyers were a mix of friends and complete strangers, which was incredibly validating. A couple of them even sent messages later saying how much they loved the scents. It wasn't just a transaction, It felt like a connection. In just 2 weeks, I sold 5 of the 10 candles. Looking back, the success came down to a few key things. The local angle was huge, the product itself was high quality, and the clean presentation made it feel special. After subtracting my $12 material cost from the $50 in revenue, that was a $38 profit. This was by far my most successful method yet. It just goes to show that if you have a quality product and a good story, even a tiny investment can bring a big return. It felt like planting the seed of a real small business. That brought my new total to an incredible $80. We didn't just meet the $50 goal, we've soared past it by a whopping $30. The feeling was amazing. From a tiny $12 investment in wax and glass, I generated a 316% return on investment. I'd already blown past my initial goal, but the challenge isn't over. I had one more method to test, and I saved the most unpredictable high-stakes method for last. It was definitely the riskiest of them all. Section 5. Method number 5. The penny stock gamble. So, I was sitting on $80, way over my initial goal. For the 5th and final method, I wanted to explore the high-risk, high-reward world of penny stocks. Stocks that trade for under $5 a share. They are famous for being incredibly volatile, which means huge gains are possible, but so are huge losses. Quick disclaimer. This is absolutely not financial advice. This was purely an experiment. Given the risk, I decided to only play with my original $10. I treated this $10 as money I was totally okay with setting on fire. I did a few days of research looking for a company in an up-and-coming industry. I landed on a small tech company that had some promising news on the horizon. Using a commission-free trading app, I bought my shares. For a few days, nothing happened. Then, the company released a positive update, and the stock shot up. Watching the numbers jump around like that was thrilling, but also super nerve-wracking. I set a clear exit strategy to keep myself from getting greedy. The second my $10 turned into $15, I sold. I made a $5 profit. It sounds small, but that's a 50% return in a super short time. This little experiment taught me a huge lesson. Yeah, the potential for a quick profit is there, but the risk of losing it all is just as real. It's a game that requires serious research and a stomach of steel. The climax and conclusion. All right, moment of truth. Let's tally it all up. I started with a single $10 bill. After trying out freelance micro tasks, selling digital products, grinding through surveys, making handmade goods, and taking a small gamble on penny stocks, my final total is $85. I didn't just hit my $50 goal, I completely smashed it. This whole journey was a mix of frustration, slow burns, and a few really exciting wins. The most profitable method for me was easily the handmade products, which really showed the power of creating something of tangible value. The biggest time suck for the least reward? Definitely the online surveys. So, the big question, do these so-called money hacks actually work? Yes, but they're not magic. They take creativity, patience, and the willingness to just do the work. Turning a little bit of money into a lot more isn't about one secret trick. It's about trying different things, learning as you go, and rolling your wins into the next attempt. It's all about starting small, building some momentum, and seeing where it takes you. So, which of these methods would you actually try? Drop a comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. And hey, if you want to see what I do with this $85 next, maybe we shoot for $500? Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next challenge. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you